Hello everyone and welcome to a new cosplay story time. I realized that I don't do these videos as frequently as I thought I did, and I always think of them as kind of like a staple on my channel. So one thing for 2020 that I'm gonna try and do is to do way more cosplay story times and make them way more frequent. So we're starting that off with a story from my most recent convention. This is gonna be like multiple stories in one video, so I'm gonna try to make it nice and quick and not be talking for like half an hour because no one wants to watch that. So as you guys know, I like cosplaying Hazbin Hotel and Helluva a lot. That's literally all I've been cosplaying recently because I like cute demons. Cute ghosts, cute demons. If it has either of those things in it, I'm there, I love it. One question that has floated around my brain ever since I first started cosplaying it has been, I didn't even mean to make that a pun, but I'm gonna roll with it. What happens when little kids see you cosplaying Hazbin or Helluva? This has been a huge question in my mind, and so at my most recent convention, which was Fan Expo Vancouver, I finally got an answer to that. What happens when young kids see you cosplaying a demon? Do they get scared? Are they delighted? Do you scar them for life? Like, what happens? So I have a bunch of really fun stories from that weekend to share, so I thought I would put them all together in one video, and we would talk about them. Okay, so Fan Expo Vancouver, I did 3 demon cosplays. So day 1 was Default Charlie, second day was 1920s Charlie, and then my third day I had a whole Helluva group where I was Millie. So obviously, like, Hazbin is not for children at all. I've never cosplayed something that is 18 plus, very much for mature audiences only. So obviously when like that's the case and things are a little bit more on kind of like the edgy side, when you interact with kids, you have to have kind of like a G-rated kind of cover story if they ask you, you know, what you're cosplaying. And so I was not concerned about this at all for Charlie. Like, she has a very easy cover story, right? I was prepared. If little kids come up to me, I can say that I'm a princess. I can say that I have like cool fire powers, that I can make fireworks. Like, it's a very easy story, you know? Everybody loves princesses. Where I'm a princess of is not important. Don't worry about it, children. And you don't have to really worry about how kids are gonna react to it because, you know, I look cute. The second day I'm gonna have like a poofy dress on. I look vaguely like a dog. Like, kids are gonna dig it. It's gonna be fun. I don't have to worry about, you know, scaring any children. We're set. It's gonna be fine. So day 1, I don't run into any children, so I don't have to worry about that. And then day 2, I had 3 very fun run-ins with children. So the first instance was actually when I was shooting with a videographer who goes by Blue Busman on Instagram if you want to check out his stuff. And we were filming in this little plaza that's across from the convention center. We finished shooting and we're chatting, and while we're chatting, I see these 2 parents with their little, I want to say about 2-year-old son. So adorable. He sees me and he's immediately like wide-eyed, very interested. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I am ready. So I immediately am like, hi, and I'm waving, and he's like super stoked, and his parents are like, oh, he's absolutely fascinated. And so my response is, you know, oh, well, I am a princess. I don't think the parents exactly knew what I meant by that. I meant kind of like, you know, kids love princesses, so, you know, hi. And so they're like, okay. I feel like they were like, they didn't really know what to make of that response. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm a little awkward. I'm sorry. I didn't say that, but that's how I feel inside. So they're kind of like, okay, nice, cool. And then they keep walking and then they leave. But nonetheless, this 2-year-old boy friggin' enamored by Charlie. And I was like, oh my gosh. So cute, so cute. The second interaction I had, this was actually on my way walking back from shooting with this videographer. So I'm actually just about to cross the street to go back to the convention center, and this mother with her 3 very small children, again, probably ages 2 to 3-ish, like they're like super small children. She sees me and she's like, oh, like so pretty, oh my gosh, like let's get a photo, everyone. And so I'm like, oh, hi, and I'm like waving at the kids. I'm like, hey, how's it going? And the kids are not as interested. Like, they have these expressions on their faces like, okay, yeah, that's pretty cool, but they are not as excited about this as the mom is. Like, the mom sees this weird blonde dog lady in a poofy dress, and she's like, this is great, and the kids are like, I guess it's all right. So she's like, okay, kids, like, come together, you know, let's get a photo. And the kids are like all over the place. The kids are like not really listening to her. She's trying to like, you know, wrangle her kids so that they can all get a photo. But while she's doing this, she's like asking me questions. She's like, oh, you look really pretty. And I'm like, oh, thanks so much. And she's like, what's your character? What are you dressed as? I have to say this in like a G-rated way, obviously, because if I say that I'm the princess of hell, I don't want to say that in front of little kids. And also, I don't know how the mom would feel about that. So I'm like, oh, my character, she's kind of like the princess of the underworld. Which I'm not wrong. That's kind of the most G-rated cover story that I could come up with. And she's like, okay, yeah, cool, that's nice. Throughout this conversation, she's kind of asking me things, but it doesn't exactly feel like she's really listening to the answer, because she kind of does that like mom thing where she's like, oh, that's nice. And she's like, oh, like, what is it from? I'm like, oh, it's from a web series called Hazbin Hotel, but it's not for kids. Don't show it to your kids. And again, she's totally chilled out. She's like, oh, that's nice. It's like she's not taking in my answers. And I'm like, all right, this is the weirdest conversation ever, right? Because like, I would think that if like you're a mom and you see a character who's like very cute looking, and then the person tells you that's from something, and I'm like making very obvious, I repeat myself, I'm like, just in case like, she's not really listening. So I'm like, it's not for kids. Please do not show it to your children. And she's like, that's nice. Like, she's so chilled out. It's like, she's not really listening. So I feel like, you know, most people would be very taken aback, like, oh, like, why is it not for kids? Like, what, are you dressing from a porn? Like, what is this, right? But she's just totally not listening. I'm like, okay, this is a very weird conversation, but like, this is chill. So eventually she gets all the children together. We take a photo. Overall, like, it went very well, but it was still a very weird interaction, a very weird conversation. My third story from that day happened on my way back on the bus. And yes, I was in full cosplay on the bus and I was feeling great. I had had such a good day at the convention that day that I was like, I do not care if people stare at me or think that I look weird. Like, I'm just gonna transit home in full cosplay and I'm just gonna have a great time. And that's what happened. So I'm on my last bus home and this man with his two daughters, so I wanna say are probably around the ages of like maybe between 9 to maybe like 11-ish. The guy has like a Mario hat. The girls have like the anime face masks. And so I'm like, ah, those are my people. As soon as they walk on the bus, I'm like, oh, I know where you guys have been today. And so they see me at the back of the bus. The man waves at me and smiles, and like I wave back and they come to sit next to me. And he's like, oh, were you at Fan Expo Vancouver? I'm like, how could you tell? He's like, yeah, we're just on our way home from Fan Expo as well. So we thought that we'd come and say hi to you. And I'm like, so nice. I love that. I love the nerd connection. You know, it's nice when you see another person who's like obviously been at a convention too, and you're like, you're a nerd as well. Let's be friends. It was very cute. So he and his daughters sit next to me. We're chatting. Between his two daughters, one of them is younger and she's kind of quieter. And then his second daughter, I think was a little bit older and she was kind of a bit more on the kind of rebellious side. He's like, oh, we love your cosplay. We didn't get to cosplay this year, but we're hoping to next year. I'm like, oh, like, what are you guys gonna be cosplaying? He's like, oh, like, no, we're thinking of doing this cosplay from Assassination Classroom. And then he explains to me that they just started getting into anime. They've been watching like Spirited Away. They've been watching Assassination Classroom. And then he asks me what I'm cosplaying from. And I'm like, oh, I'm cosplaying a web series called Hazbin Hotel, but it's not for children. Please do not watch it with your daughters. It is maybe when they're older, but it's not appropriate. And he's like, oh, okay, that's good to know. And immediately his older daughter is like, I'm gonna watch it. And I'm like, no, please don't. Like, you're like 10, that's way too young. She's like, no, I'm gonna watch it. And he's like, oh yeah, you know, she's, you know, just gotten into anime, which like, I feel like something like, I've never seen Assassination Classroom, but I know kind of how anime is. A lot of it is like, you know, violent. It's definitely mature, but a lot of it is not kind of mature in the same way that Hazbin is. So it's, you know, like, I know you think that you're like, you know, into edgier content, little girl, but like, trust me, just please wait until you're older. But then his other daughter interjects and she's like, yeah, we were watching Spirited Away. Have you ever seen Spirited Away? It's so good. And I'm like, yeah, I've totally seen Spirited Away. I was actually around your guys' age when it first came out. And the dad's like, oh, that's so cool. So she's talking to me about Spirited Away. And then eventually it's their stop to get off the bus. So they're getting up to get off at their stop. They're like, okay, well, nice to meet you. Nice chatting. And as they're leaving, the younger daughter turns to me and she's like, what was that hotel one? And immediately I'm like, no, when you're older, don't watch it now, when you're older. And she's like, oh, fine. And then she gets off the bus. So like I've said previously, Charlie, not a cosplay I'm nervous to wear around children. Like, she's cute looking, I can say that I'm a princess, she's approachable. But then we get to day 3 where I'm cosplaying Millie and all of my friends and I are cosplaying IMP. You know, a company of demon assassins. I look a lot less approachable, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel like we're gonna scare a lot of children, which I'm not happy about, but I think that's just how it's gonna be. You know, I love it when children see you in cosplay and they're like happy to see you, right? I don't want to scare children. But I was like, oh, that's probably what's gonna happen, and we just have to be ready for that. So we all had to transit in cosplay. We were worried that we were gonna scare some children on the bus. Luckily, there were no children on the bus or on the train, so that was all good. And then we get to the convention, and the third day of the convention was by far the day that had the most children. I'm talking children like 5 and under. And as it would turn out, every single child that we saw was really happy to see us. Like, they loved us. I don't know why, but they were into it. And you'd think that, like, out of all of the IMP characters, Luna would probably be like the favorite because she's a dog. Children love dogs. But it turns out that I actually was the most popular among little kids. So take that, Luna. The children, they love Millie. There were so many little girls in the food court who came up and asked to get photos with me, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I love this. I'm carrying like a prop severed arm. That's not deterring the kids at all, right? Nothing about it. The horns, the fangs, the fact that I'm all red. No, kids friggin' loved it. I got so many photo requests from like little girls. And again, I'm talking like ages 5 and under. Like, they were small. They would see me and they'd be like, oh my gosh, and they'd be kind of shy. And then they'd like very timidly come up with their moms and be like, can I get a photo with you? And I'd be like, absolutely, I love this. And even like when children weren't as excited and wanted like a photo, they would maybe be like seeing us from a distance and they'd just kind of be observing. They'd be like, yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. They wouldn't necessarily be like, you know, excited like that. They wouldn't be like, oh my gosh, I have to get a photo. But they'd be like, that's interesting. Yeah, I like this. I like this. And then they'd walk away, which was also very cute. But by far the highlight of our day was this little boy who saw us while we were shooting. Again, he was maybe around like three or 4. Like, he was small. He was decked out in all Spider-Man gear. He had like Spider-Man shoes. He had the Spider-Man suit. He had a jacket, and I think it was also a Spider-Man jacket. He comes up and he sees us and he's like, he's so thrilled. He obviously does, like, or at least hopefully doesn't know who these characters are, but he's like, he is stoked. And for me, I've had many years of interacting with kids while I've been in cosplay, and I've just been like horrendously awkward. Gone are those days, all right? I know what I'm doing. I'm ready to like make these kids' days. I'm ready to, you know what I'm trying to say. Grammar is hard. But anyway, I'm totally ready. I'm gonna like make this kid's day. We're gonna have a really cool conversation. He's dressed as Spider-Man. Like, I can play off of this. I'm ready. Millie is ready. He comes up and I'm like, oh my gosh, are you Spider-Man? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, that's so cool. And he's like beaming and he's like really excited. So he like rips off his jacket to show us his Spider-Man suit. I'm like, you have the suit? That's so cool. And my friend who's Moxie is next to me, and I turned to her and I'm like, have you ever met a real life superhero? And she's like, no, this is my first time. I'm like, mine too. This is so cool. Oh my gosh. And I'm like, can you do the Spider-Man pose? And he's like, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. Look at you. You have superpowers. You're Spider-Man. This kid is losing his mind. He is so excited. He's so excited that I think that he's Spider-Man. Like, it's the cutest thing ever. So I'm like, well, let's get a photo together. And so I'm like, here, stand between the two of us, right? So it's Millie and Moxie and then this little Spider-Man, and we all matched because, you know, Spider-Man has red in his outfit and we're all red. And so he stands between us and he does the pose. I'm like, well, we have to do the pose too. So we all do the pose at the camera. The mom's very happy. The kid is just, he's so happy. And I'm like, oh, you know, have a good day, Spider-Man. Oh, it was just the cutest thing ever. Ugh, so good. And that's how like so many of our interactions that day went. Like, I played it up. We saw a little girl who's Wonder Woman. I'm like, oh my gosh, are you Wonder Woman? Have you been catching bad guys today? It was so good. Not a single child was scared of us. Either like, you know, chill with us. They're like, oh, that's interesting. Or they were like, really stoked to see us. They thought we were super cool, especially Millie, apparently. People loved the red demon lady, apparently. I'm just so happy that I could dress up as something that's definitely not for children, but still like make children happy. So the moral of the story is, kids love demons. I didn't expect it, but apparently they do, especially Millie. So take that, everyone else. I also really love to imagine in like 10 to 15 years when all these kids rediscover these photos of them with like the Helluva Boss crew as a child, and like at that point, they'll hopefully know who the characters are. Like, I think that's just the most amazing thing ever. I hope that that happens. Cosplaying Helluva Boss and Hazbin in front of very small children is a good time. You don't scare them, they love it, and that makes me so happy. But obviously, like, the characters that I was cosplaying, I feel like they're, you know, some characters from both series are like far more approachable and not like scary looking than others. So if there are any like Alistair cosplayers watching this video, if you guys could like, please, if you guys have had any experiences interacting with children in that cosplay, like, please tell me. I want to know if you're an Alistair cosplayer, if you're an Angel Dust cosplayer, if you're a Lucifer cosplayer, if you literally cosplay anyone. I really want to know your experiences, because was I just lucky that I didn't scar any children? Have kids been afraid of you? Have they been like really excited to see you? Like, what has that been like? I really want to know. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you guys all next time. But until then, Panda Faces, please be sure to take care and please don't scare any children. Bye.